There have been evil, despicable white people for hundreds of years who have went out their way to completely destroy and brutalize the identity of black and brown people. But those people were not in a state of being like Messiah. The person who articulated that difference so well was Frederick Douglass. This is what he says about that difference, and I'll finish here. Between the Christianity of this land and the Christianity of Christ, I recognize the widest possible difference. So wide that to receive the one as good, pure, and holy is of necessity to reject the other as bad, corrupt, and wicked. The enemy of the other. I love the pure, peaceable, and impartial Christianity of Christ. I therefore hate the corrupt, slave-holding, women-whipping, cradle-plundering, partial and hypocritical Christianity of this land. Indeed, I see no reason but the most deceitful one for calling the religion of this land Christianity. The enemy of the other. I love the pure, peaceable, and impartial Christianity of Christ. I therefore hate the corrupt, slave-holding, women-whipping, cradle-plundering, partial and hypocritical Christianity of this land. Indeed, I see no reason but the most deceitful one for calling the religion of this land Christianity.
You have it. Adam, can you add to that?
Yeah, man, you know, I'm gonna be I'm gonna try to be brief as I can. I ain't gonna lie to you. I try to prepare as best I can for these exchanges, and I had some things I wanted to say, but I just can't get past you know, the opening statements by Tazariak and the brother here. Excuse me, I'm lapsing on your name right now. Hakai, forgive me. Here's what I think is interesting. You know, going back to Hakai talking about white supremacy, right? I want everybody in the audience to think about the response that Tazariak gave to the question. Where did he begin his historical analysis? He began with our enslavement, colonization, and oppression, right? Now, I don't know, I got a little bit of age on me, right? And what I can recall when I was coming up, for the most part, when we're taught about our history, typically that's where our whole history is framed around our predicament here in the Americas. Like as if we just sprouted up on the cotton fields as slaves, like there was nothing about us before then. Our whole history revolves around slavery. That is a white supremacist tunnel vision. I find it fascinating that out of his mouth at the outset, his understanding of our history in relation to Christianity is indeed shaped by a white supremacist framework, right? The fact of the matter is our history doesn't begin with the cotton fields. Our history with Christianity doesn't begin with the cotton fields. You can't get out of the first century, all right, without seeing evidence of African Christians. I mean, we're talking about, for goodness sake, ancient Nubia, you know, being a Christian nation from about the 15th century to about the 1300s or so. I mean, that's a Christian nation on the continent of Africa for about 1,000 years before colonialism. We're talking about Ethiopia, you know, being the first established Christian nation, which obviously was an African nation. We're talking about guys like Tertullian, who was an African theologian going back to the 2nd century. We're talking about legends like St. Augustine.
Answering the question directly. Yes, I brought up slavery. Yes, I didn't bring up just slavery. I brought up the doctrine of discovery, because what was important about the doctrine of discovery was that when the Roman Catholic Church spread their Christianity, which is what black people received, black people did not receive first century Christianity. They did not receive first century Israelites. When we received this Christianity, it erased the greatest black man to ever exist, which is Jesus Christ. Out of everything that they responded to, why they didn't touch on why this Christianity got rid of black Jesus? Why this Christianity didn't describe Jesus as he's described in the Bible? Because for sure, he don't have blonde eyes, blue eyes in the Bible. He don't have blonde stringy hair in the Bible. And he don't have white skin in the Bible. So when you say I'm talking about white supremacy, don't get mad at me because they brought a white Jesus to us.
We have people like Saronia Mango, who shapeshifted into a panther to avert being guillotined because of the refusal to convert to Christianity under the French attack. The initial people, remember, did not concede to this. That's why we have the story of Leander, who was crucified and refused to repent and be a Christian even at the point of crucifixion. We have people like Saronia Mango, who shapeshifted into a panther to avert being guillotined because of the refusal to convert to Christianity under the French attack. The initial people saw this madness. It's us that came after. And maybe I excuse the other people who converted and said it was at the barrel of a gun. It was a survivalist thing. It's not a survivalist thing now. Religion is using Africans for its purpose. But you find people like Njingambande of Ndongo in Matamba, Queen Njingambande. She used Catholicism for her benefit. It was not the other way around.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rucha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I'm responding off of maybe a couple of videos. This was titled Israelite versus Christian Debate, Christianity, White Man's Religion. And the Christians are saying, no, this is not the case. We're talking modern Christians, not ancient Christians, right? We're talking about 1600s Christianity on up to today. So we're going to probably go over maybe an article or two, or just go over some scriptures. And I have no idea how that even makes sense. That let me go back here. This woman right here, Catherine Gerbner. I'm going to read a comment someone left. It says, I have an issue with how you apply knowledge and facts. She stated Christianity was not imposed on African American slaves, but she uses the petition by slaves in St. Thomas. Thomas and the U.S. are two different territories. I mean, anybody who's listening to this white woman here say this madness to try to keep Christianity alive, we are to the point now that they're trying to replace history and switch it and turn it upside down. Hey, come on, man. Everybody know that Christianity was forced on the nations, man, on people in general, but mainly us. Somebody here has put Christianity as a man's tool, and slavery came later. The enslavers initially did not want the slave to know anything about the Bible, right? Partially true, right? Let me get a scripture real quick and I'll come back. Psalms 83:4. They have said, let me go to 83:2. Is it 4? It says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, trouble, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So the problem came, right? You had two different sects of white people. Well, different variations of slave owners. You had different forms of slave owners. You had some that felt, and I was reading in a lot of books, these different books, you had some that felt like these are religious people. And obviously on the transatlantic slave ship, we didn't have white Jesus. That number one thing that Captain Zariak brought out, which absolutely true, we know, that white Jesus was a part of a psychological institution in destroying us, right? And the Christians will say, well, his color doesn't matter, it's about his works. Well, the works of that man was evil. Now, I'll ask a Christian, and they haven't answered yet, if I put a picture of Baal or Ra, the Egyptian deity, or Satan even, and say, bless you, Jesus, would that be okay? Because clearly, all of those gods are the gods and are the works of evil. What makes Jesus even worse? Because what he represented, I'm talking about Cesar Borgias, what he represented was evil and destruction in the name of the Bible. So that was blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, right? So anyway, you know, when you go into these, what they've done, we were such a religious people that they felt the best way to do is convert them, and then we can have more control if we convert them. But then you have another sect of white people who said, no, don't convert them. They're the children of Canaan. They were cursed black. I mean, this is all the racism that was used on us. So the one white nationality of people would say, hey, help them build churches, help them, you know, in their faith. And the other ones, you know, partially the KKK, said, no, destroy them. They're not supposed to be worshiping God. But both of them had one thing in common, both sides. They wanted slaves. And they knew that Christianity would further enslave us. And then they took the books during the Bible destruction group, even going back to, what's his name? Martin Luther, Erasmus. Then they took Bibles out of the pages out of the Bible, as they did the Apocrypha, and then put pages back in the Bible. Well, they took pages out, and then they gave it to us that way. So this is how we know it's not technically the white man's book, because if it was the white man's book, he wouldn't have had to take anything out of it. But anyway, we're going to read a little commentary, Slavery Alongside Christianity. It says, in modern America, Christianity and slavery are seen as obnoxious, oxymoronial, but for much of Christian history, many saw no conflict between keeping the faith and keeping or the trades of slaves. For the first century until the Civil War, the Bible itself was often used to justify slavery, right? Yeah, that's what they did. The unsettling relationship is the focus on an exhibit at Harvard Divinity Schools and over Harvard Theology Library, The Yoke of Bondage, Christianity, African Slavery in the United States. Okay, it says here, features more than 20 documents, including rare books that range from 1619 to 1865. The text analyzes the debate during the period among Christian theologians, authors, and heretics who either justified slavery or stood against it. And the reason why you would have had some groups who claimed, the abolitionists who claimed to be against it, they were just in the mindset that you had a group of them that believed that if you keep putting bondage on these slaves and killing them, you're not going to have any slaves. They all wanted slaves. It's just that some wanted slaves. They went through a different route, or let me say a different dynamic, so to speak, on how they kept their slaves. So you had one group who was all about it, right, who was against so-called blacks converting. Then you had the other group who was for blacks conversion because they made them better slaves, because they was religious. And then what happened? We still identified with our God, even with the Bible. So then they said, let's get their asses to white Jesus. And those Jesuits and those out of the Roman Catholic Church, what is his name? John Calvin, he would burn you at the stake. So the scripture says, a corrupt tree bringeth forth corrupt fruit, right? And a corrupt seed bringeth forth a corrupt tree and corrupt fruit. So that seed branches off the different branches, and this is how you got our people today. So if Christianity worked so well, what happened? All that converting and conversions that we had, and even though we converted, and even though we was in those churches back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they were still lynching us, right? So these so-called Christians was all about it, and nobody stopped the lynchings and discriminations, and even to this day, cops blowing Jake away. Yeah, that's a good point of Christianity, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to try to get on through this. Ecclesiastes 1:9, the thing that has been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there's no new thing under the sun. So we're going to go to First Maccabees. So the key of modern Christianity and what we knew before we were destroyed is different, right? And we can go on back to the time of the Maccabee. Well, this is the time of Antiochus, I believe, 167, 160 something BCE, before the Common Era. It says, I could be wrong, I'm just quoting it. It says, and after the death, let me go to verse 10. And there came them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage in Rome. He reigned in 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. I'm just going to try to read through some of this. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen, that they are round about us. For since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. We've seen the same thing. This is why I read Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. So as I get through this, you'll see why I read that. When you go to the time of Babylon, same deal. Same deal. They said what? We will, Jeremiah 44, he said, we will do nothing but worship the Queen of Heaven, because once we stopped, we saw sorrow, right? Which the Lord did that. Let me go on down. I'm going to try to scroll through this. It says here, he took also silver and gold and precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasures which were found, right? I believe going into Antiochus, right? This is what Joel 3 said. You know, when Joel 3 said, I recompense, you know, what you've done to the children of Israel. You sold them for, you cast lots on them, sold a boy for a harlot and a girl that she might drink. I mean, sold a girl for wine that she might drink. Yeah, so there's nothing new under the sun. You have some Christians say, well, Deuteronomy 28, those are all prophecies fulfilled already. Well, they have what you call a fulfilling and filling of prophecies, where you go through periods of time, and sometimes it happens twice or more. Like Deuteronomy, when it talks about the yoke of iron upon our neck, they'll read the commentary and say, oh, that went back in Babylon. They believe after the Messiah came, then all the prophecies is pretty much done. But yet he's coming back. But he didn't finish. But they say all fulfilled. But he hasn't finished. Okay, that's another video. I'm going to try to get to the point. It says here, it says, yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. This is why Paul was going back to the Gentiles. These were Gentiles. These are Israelites who turned their way from the Lord, and they became Gentiles. Because Gentile is not a Greek or Hebrew word, by the way. It's not even a Greek or Hebrew word. It's a Latin word. It just meant another name for stranger or foreigner, which, when you're dealing with the English language, you can have a stranger that's an Israelite and a foreigner that's an Israelite. Just saying. Let me go on down. See, you Christians, man, you're out of control. You're trying to erase history, and that's what's so sickening. All the madness and murder and sickness and bringing in white Jesus, and everything out of the root of white Jesus was totally nothing but destruction. And they'll say, don't worry about his color don't matter. He's done great things. That's all that matters. Yeah, it didn't matter when we was, right, following it. It mattered when we was following it. Now we say, hey, he didn't look like that. Now they're saying it don't even matter. That's Christianity for you. That's racism. Because now we're stuck in that image of a white Jesus. I say, why do Captain Zaryak, he's getting old. There's these debates. It's the same thing over and over. Jew and Gentile, Isaiah 46, the strangers, the light to the Gentiles. We went over that hundreds of times. And if they don't want to get it, you got to move on. It's really getting tiresome. It's like a broken record playing all over and over, a scratch record. Let's go on here. And whosoever was found with any, the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. So if you follow the law, you'll be put to death. Thus did they bear by their authority unto the Israelites every month to as many as were found in the cities. So it's putting Israelites to death for following the law of the Most High. I'm going to finish up. It says, where we say? It says, at which time, according to commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. Again, keeping the law. The reason why I'm bringing this up, Ecclesiastes 1:9, don't do anything under the sun. This is the same kind of behavior that they had when they brought us in slavery, right? When we wanted to follow our belief in our God, they would kill us for it. They had blood on their hands for that in the name of the Bible, which proves that curse of the Israelites was used against us through the hand of our oppressors, right? They caused the children to be circumcised so they would kill them. Then it says, and they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses, slew them that had circumcised them. Sounds familiar? Didn't they do that when the clans came and raided our houses and set our houses on fire? Didn't that happen when they lynched us? A lot of that because we didn't want to follow along with their religion. Now, Acts 5:29 says, the God of our fathers raised up Peter, who ye slew and hanged on the tree. Hanged on a tree. Judah, Jew. Doesn't that tell you, doesn't that connect with Jews being hung on trees? Why did they burn crosses in our backyards? It's evident that we were the Jews, and we still are. Anyway, howbeit be it many of the Israelites are fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die. Again, the reason why I read Ecclesiastes 1:9, when you read up on what happened during the time of slavery and in the 1700s, and even further, when we didn't want to follow their customs, they would kill us, punish us, torture us, or even hang us for not believing in their God, right? Or their belief or following their ways or traditions. So when the white man got the Bible, he took what he wanted to take. Now you had the ones that's in that land now who don't believe in the Messiah, but then they pushed the doctrine on to us to believe in the Messiah. But why didn't they allow us to keep our Messiah's image? That's what they were afraid of. They didn't want to do that. Let me read another little quick. I just Googled this. It says in regions, almost all of the colony populations was forcibly turned away from its tradition belief system and forcibly turned toward the Christian faith. And that's nothing new. You go back in Babylon, you go back in Egypt. A lot of us start following the customs of the other heathens. Why would this white woman sit up here and say that they didn't force Christianity on us? So in other words, this is what she's saying. Now let me get this right. She's saying when they whipped us and brought us into slavery, that she's saying that we could follow our own religion and our own belief in whatever we wanted to do. That's what she's pretty much saying. And I guess she's saying that we had our own choices and our own rights and beliefs of what we wanted to believe. But what she's not telling you, there is a group that, what she's saying is groups that wanted to convert us, but they forcibly converted us until a period of time where we automatically start converting because you got benefits, you got special treatments. Why wouldn't we have converted? And then they set up the tares to run the churches. Those are your first preachers, by the way. When the white man had sex with the black woman, he grew up as a man. They wanted to still bring that ideology So they taught them the Christian way. So we still got taught by Christians that was so-called black, because a lot of them will say, "Ooh, there was black slaves." Yeah, some, but some of them were tares. You got to understand, in any kind of corporation, this is corporate America, which is nothing but slavery. And in slavery, you got senators, you got governors. Some may be black. Some may be in military. Some might be captains in militaries. Doesn't matter. The root branch or the root start of it is the person that's running the show. Just like in Rome, the Christians have a problem with saying when it comes to Greek in Rome, that's racist right there, because every Greek wasn't white, every Roman wasn't white. It's clear that Israelites was in the Roman army. You could Google that now. But anyway, it's just interesting to see. Let me go to Maccabees 340. Is it 348? I think I had something. Yeah, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. So what they're trying to do is get rid of. They're trying to clean up what they've done, and for the root of us being Christians. And if they felt it was our own belief and our own rights, why did they set up all these churches? And since they have all these churches to forcibly convert us to Christianity, which they told you to throw out the laws, because these people are lawless, why didn't these Christian churches help us?